Sarah. She's the best. She's one of the reasons we're here, really.
You just said
she's the reason we're here. Sarah Harmer, not the
before we get to our next performance, I'd like to introduce a couple of people to you. First of all, right here, this is Jan Morrissey. Jan is a member of... Yeah, sure. Here for Jan. Jan is a member of the Bayview Cover Neighborhood Association. Their organization held an event in May informing local residents about Line 9, which runs directly through their backyard. And she's working hard to ensure that her neighbors know all about Line 9 and the risks it poses to their community. Jan, thank you very much for being here. And right here, yeah, sure, one more time.
yeah! Woo!
Awkward applause breaks. The workshop I'm running right now. Emily Ferguson is here from Kingston, Ontario. She is an intervener in the hearings, the Enbridge hearings that are taking place beginning this Tuesday. Emily's doing great research and sharing information at line9communities.com. Emily, thank you very much for being here. So I'd like to pass the mic over to Jan. Jan, I understand you have some things to say.
Hi everybody. I just wanted to give the perspective of some accidental activists. We're just part of a neighborhood association and the pipeline happened to be in our area. But to tell you the truth, we were surprised that there was a pipeline in our area. We didn't know. And then we were very surprised to find out that even though it goes over all these rivers, there's no automatic shutoffs in event of a spill by all of these watersheds. So we were pretty surprised. And then we were surprised to learn that they were thinking of using Line 9B, which is an old pipeline. And as they've explained, it's not been built for the diluted bitumen. And then we learned about diluted bitumen and found out what a pain it is. And for the people in Kalamazoo, 3 years later, $1 billion, they're still finding what a pain it is. And then we found out that the Toronto Emergency Services has never had training yet or special equipment to clean up a diluted bitumen spill.
Shame!
The last thing we found out was that given all these serious things that the federal government decided not to do an environmental assessment. I can't believe that. So we thought we would start looking into it, and we found that it wasn't only us in the neighborhood association that were ignorant of a lot of these things. Nobody knew about the Line 9B reversal. Enbridge and the National Energy Board were charged with responsibility of making sure that all of us did know about it. At one of our meetings, we counted fewer than 3 out of 115 people who heard about the Line 9B from these two organizations that were charged with the responsibility. So I think it was spectacularly ineffective. I'm afraid a little bit that as far as the federal government, it looks like a fait accompli. But I hope it isn't. We got involved, we did flyers, we did meetings. We put in a letter of comment. Our letter of comment had 2 parts. The first part was to say that the communication was lousy. And in the future, they had better make sure the public has a chance to say, preferably before the deadlines. And secondly, we said because we didn't get a chance, we meaning the public, not just our neighborhood association, to know about it and to put our 2 cents worth in, that we feel that we have to have an environmental assessment done, and therefore it's got to be the province. So I really urge all of you to put some pressure on the provincial government, your MPPs, Bradley, Kathleen Wynne, because they're going to say it's an expensive process. They're going to say, oh, pipeline, federal responsibility. But you know, as soon as there's an oil spill, it's not a federal responsibility. It's a provincial responsibility, it's a municipal responsibility, and it's our responsibility. So I really hope today all of you can sign the petition with Environmental Defence. It's great that they're leading some of this to get pressure on the provincial government to actually have this environmental assessment, but I hope you will all become accidental activists and do your own letters and phone calls. Thank you.
well. My name is Emily Ferguson, and I am the sole individual behind line9communities.com. You can follow it at L9communities on Twitter. I started line9communities.com because I went to a few open houses, and Enbridge had no local maps of where this pipeline was. You'd see kind of a broad spectrum. Oh, well, it's north of Lake Ontario. Well, there's a lot of land that's north of Lake Ontario. I went to one meeting in particular where they were handing out information packages to city councillors. And I walked up at the end of the meeting and I said, is there any chance that I could get some of the information that you're handing to councillors? They asked who I was, and I said, well, I'm just kind of a local resident. At the time, I was going to McMaster University in Hamilton. And they said, sure, absolutely. Here you go, here's some information, thinking that that was going to be the end and I would ask no more questions. So I found out a little bit more about the project, and I decided, well, you know what, I'm going to go to another meeting. And I asked them for a second package because I realized there were local maps specific to whatever meeting they were at. When I asked the second time, they did have a bunch of these packages at the end of the meeting. And the gentleman from Enbridge kind of clutched them closer to him, and he said, who are you working for? And I said, nobody, I just really want to know where the pipeline is. And he wouldn't give me a package. The second time, they just refused to give me this package. So I thought, okay, one way or another, I'm going to figure out where this thing is. So I took the little Google man for a walk. At all road crossings, Enbridge has signs at the road crossings. So after about 300 teardrop marks on Google, I put the line together and then separated that into the maps, and those are the maps that are at line9communities.com. So if you're wondering exactly where this pipeline is, please visit the website. Thank you. I'm also, like the introduction said, an NEB intervener in the process. I will be presenting in Toronto in about a week and a half. The story behind this is very personal because my grandma was actually my #1 supporter. And she was the one that when I was telling her about this, she said, you really, really need to do something. And I thought, you know, intervener, and it's this big application, and I'm just an individual, and I don't actually live on the pipeline right away or anything. And she said, you've got to do something about this. So I filled out my intervener application by her bedside in hospital. She passed away at sunrise on Earth Day, symbolically, about 2 days later. This is really, really personal to me. I grew up in Glenburnie. Glenburnie is just north of Kingston, Ontario. My public school playground is 500 meters from the pipeline. My grandfather's and now grandmother's memorial is 600 meters from this pipeline. So I went back into this community, Glenburnie, very small community, and said, does anybody know about this pipeline? Nobody knew that it was there. This was absolutely shocking. So I went to an open house from Enbridge in Corbyville, Ontario. Can anybody raise your hand if you know where Corbyville, Ontario is? A couple of people, okay. Corbyville is just north of Belleville. This is a very small community. Enbridge has held all of their open houses in very, very small communities. And when I asked them, what do you think about the turnout? There was only 7 or 8 of us there. And they said, people just don't care. That is a direct quote. They said to me, people just don't care. There's way too much on their radar screen right now. Give you some numbers. 239 cracks, 56 dents, and 9 corrosion issues that are going to be dug up. These numbers are what has been announced in 2013 alone along the pipeline. I would like to say to Enbridge, given from the crowd here today, we do care. I would really like to encourage everybody, please share the website. It's www.line9communities.com and following on Twitter at capital L #9 communities. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you very much, Emily and Jan, for those inspiring words. Unbelievable. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bring up 2 of the most important musical influences on my life, and I'm so excited to introduce them. One of them I've gone on record many times as calling the greatest rock and roll band in the whole wide world, and they're from right here in Toronto. They released a record last month called Internal Sounds. It's their best one and one of my favorite records of the year. And they're joined on stage now by one of the most influential voices in all of music. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for Gord Downie and the Sadies.